Hey, what's going on, guys? C-Dub here. First of all, just want to say happy Friday. Hope you guys enjoy your day and enjoy your weekend. I wanted to give a couple quick updates about card hunting. So, as you know, if you are new to the hobby, if you are new to collecting cards, there's no such thing as just walking into a Target, walking up to the shelf, and picking out anything that you want as far as sports cards and maybe even Pokemon cards. But I'm not super familiar with Pokemon cards, but do know that they have definitely blown up as well, just like sports cards in the last year or so. So yeah, you can't do that anymore. You can't just walk up to the shelf and pull off a hanger, pull off a blaster or anything like that. It's totally changed. So how do you actually get retail cards? So I've learned after doing this for a few months, a few different things that you have to do. And then I've learned there's some things that you need to make sure you don't do. So one thing is, first of all, you have to realize that nothing is guaranteed regarding the vendor and the vendor's schedule. So just because a vendor may have came on a Wednesday doesn't mean that they're going to come at the same exact time on the Wednesday of the next week. They've been switching it up a lot. So that's one thing. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's going to always stay the same. The other thing is that as this continues on, there's going to be more competition, more people going in and getting into the lines. So the other thing you got to do is be willing to kind of sacrifice some time if you can. I mean, if you have a full-time job and you can't, then that's fine. But you're going to have to figure out ways to make it work with your schedule. The other thing is, which is a smart thing to do, is like when you go to one of these stores and you happen to be there when the vendor shows up, I mean, plan for it, budget money for it. Don't just like spend all your money. You don't want to spend like the grocery money on cards, because that's going to be very unfortunate. Another thing is, when you go to these stores like Target, or Walmart, you can try to ask questions from the Target employees, but you just never know what you're going to get again. So you got to really like take it with a grain of salt, with whatever you hear. Sometimes people have no idea in the Target stores about anything with trading cards. Sometimes people are very helpful, and sometimes Target employees are super helpful and really nice, but sometimes, to be honest, they're very frustrated and they're not so nice because they're just tired of answering these same questions that they're getting over and over again. So you got to keep that in mind. So another new thing that has happened, I mentioned this before in previous videos, is that Target is doing this virtual line thing. So you get to the store before it opens, you get on the virtual line, you give them your name and your number, and then what they say they're going to do is they're going to text you when it's your turn. So I've seen it done two different ways. I've seen it done one way where they made everybody who was on the virtual line go outside, and then they actually had a worker go out, and then he just started naming names off the list. And if you weren't there physically, he just skipped you and went to the next person who was on the list. So that's one thing, is you got to be available. You have to be there. You can't just sign up, get on the virtual list, go eat lunch for 3 hours and come back and expect you're going to be called. You can easily miss out. So that's one thing. Another way I've seen them do it is they get you on the virtual list and they actually text people. Sometimes they text one person at a time, but I've actually seen them text 3 different people at a time. So you have to be available. You have to be ready when you get that text. What other tips are there as far as getting cards? So I've been lucky enough to I've got NBA Hoops Premium, blasters, megas. I got NBA Hoops Megas and Blaster. I got Optic Football. I've got NFL Prism Football, just packs, nothing major. And then I've gotten, the Prism Draft Picks earlier. I think that was the end of last year when those came out. I've got some of those. But the other thing is, there's going to be a lot of times where you go and you're just not going to get anything for many reasons. Either the line's too long, the vendor doesn't show up. You know, those are the main reasons. Or if you just go into a Target any random days and just go like in the middle of the day, you know, the shelves are going to be empty. So I think that's what you should definitely expect that. And sometimes people say, oh, my Target hasn't stocked in months. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe that person who said that, maybe they've only really checked, you know, a few times in the last month or a few times in the last 2 months. But you really have to like kind of understand the pattern, understand, you know, when these things are when the vendor's gonna show up. The vendors usually don't go back-to-back days, but there have been times where they have done back-to-back days. So it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of different things to consider to really try to understand and learn. One thing that's been helpful too is like try to stick to like 1 or 2 stores, because you don't want to be driving around like all over the city, you know, to multiple stores and burning up all your gas. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. Anyways, I think I'm going to wrap it up for now. Hopefully this was helpful. If you guys like this, you know, hit that like button. Want to leave a comment, go ahead. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And if you think this information is helpful, feel free to share this with other people. All right, you guys have a good one. And once again, have a good weekend. C-Dubs out.